Project 2025 represents a significant undertaking by conservative thinkers. It seeks to provide a comprehensive plan for a future conservative administration. The Heritage Foundation, a well-known conservative think tank, spearheads this initiative. Over 100 other conservative organizations have contributed to its development. This collaboration underscores a unified effort to shape policy. The project was formally introduced to the public in April 2023. It appeared as an extensive 900-page document detailing numerous policy proposals. The sheer volume of the document indicates the depth and breadth of its ambitions for American governance and society. The core ambition of Project 2025 is to prepare for a potential conservative presidency. It aims to offer a ready-made playbook for immediate action. This playbook covers a vast array of governmental functions and policy areas. The intention is to avoid the slow start that can sometimes characterize new administrations. Instead, the goal is to hit the ground running with a clear set of objectives. This proactive approach is central to the project's design. It reflects a desire for decisive and impactful governance from day one, reshaping the federal landscape according to a specific conservative vision. At its heart, Project 2025 is more than just a collection of policy papers. It is a strategic vision for transforming the American federal government. The document outlines plans to consolidate presidential power significantly. It also proposes dismantling or radically overhauling certain government agencies. This suggests a fundamental rethinking of the role and scope of federal power. The project is widely seen as a blueprint for government reform, particularly tailored for a figure like Donald Trump, should he return to the presidency. It signals a desire for a more centralized executive authority. The development of Project 2025 was a meticulous and coordinated effort. It involved numerous individuals and groups dedicated to a conservative agenda. The project serves as a clear signal of intent from a significant portion of the American conservative movement. It lays out a path to implement an ultra-conservative social and political vision for the country. The focus is on creating a government that is not only efficient, but also deeply aligned with conservative principles. This blueprint is designed to guide a president in fundamentally altering the direction of the nation, ensuring long-term adherence to these ideals. A central tenet of Project 2025 involves a significant restructuring of the federal government. This restructuring is guided by the unitary executive theory. This theory posits that the president should have direct control over the entire federal bureaucracy. This includes agencies that have traditionally operated with a degree of independence. The goal is to make the executive branch more responsive to the president's agenda. Proponents argue this enhances accountability and efficiency. Critics, however, express concern about the potential for overreach and the erosion of checks and balances within the government structure. The project proposes eliminating long-standing job protections for many federal employees. This would affect thousands of civil servants. The idea is to reclassify many of these positions, making them political appointments. This change would allow a president to staff the bureaucracy with individuals perceived as loyal to their administration's goals. Supporters believe this would combat bureaucratic inertia and ensure policy implementation. Opponents worry this could lead to a less experienced and more politicized civil service. Such a shift could impact the impartial administration of government functions, potentially prioritizing political loyalty over expertise. Furthermore, Project 2025 advocates for the drastic overhaul or even elimination of several key federal agencies. Among those targeted are the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. The Department of Education is also slated for elimination. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, faces a similar fate. These proposals reflect a deep skepticism about the current roles and effectiveness of these institutions. The aim is to reduce the size and scope of the federal government in these areas. This would represent a profound shift in how essential services and functions are managed and delivered. The implications of such governmental restructuring are vast. Consolidating power under the president could lead to quicker policy changes. However, it might also concentrate too much authority in one individual. Replacing career civil servants with political appointees could ensure alignment with the administration's agenda. Yet it could also undermine institutional knowledge and impartiality. Dismantling established agencies could reduce federal spending and oversight, but it could also create gaps in critical areas like national security, education, and foreign aid, impacting citizens and America's global standing in unforeseen ways. Project 2025 outlines a distinct vision for social policies in America. A key focus is on issues related to abortion access. The document proposes actions such as withdrawing the abortion pill mifepristone from the market. It also suggests using existing laws like the Comstock Act to stop the distribution of abortion pills through the mail. These measures aim to significantly restrict abortion availability nationwide. This approach aligns with a long-standing goal of the conservative movement to limit or end abortion. The project seeks to use executive power to advance this agenda robustly. Beyond abortion, Project 2025 delves into the definition of family and marriage. It suggests adopting a biblically based understanding of these concepts within federal policy. This could have far-reaching implications for LGBTQ+ rights and family law. Such a definition might not recognize same-sex marriage or other family structures that deviate from a traditional model. This policy direction reflects a desire to embed specific religious and moral values into the fabric of government. It marks a clear intention to shape societal norms through federal action, potentially reversing previous expansions of civil rights. Another significant social policy change proposed is the elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs across the federal government. Project 2025 argues that these programs are divisive and counterproductive. The document also explicitly states that it recognizes only two genders. This stance would likely lead to the reversal of policies designed to protect transgender individuals. It would also signal a broader rejection of contemporary understandings of gender identity. The aim is to promote a specific traditional view of identity and social interaction within federal institutions and potentially beyond. These social policy proposals, taken together, indicate a desire for a profound cultural shift. They aim to realign federal policy with conservative Christian values. The withdrawal of mifepristone and restrictions on its distribution would dramatically alter reproductive health care. A biblically based definition of family would reshape legal recognitions and benefits. Ending DEI programs and affirming only two genders would fundamentally change policies on equality and civil rights. These changes would not only impact federal employees but also set a tone for broader societal debates and legal challenges across the nation. Immigration policy receives substantial attention within Project 2025. The document calls for a significant increase in funding for the U.S.-Mexico border wall. This reaffirms a commitment to physical barriers as a primary means of border control. Alongside wall construction, the project advocates for the rigorous enforcement of existing immigration laws. This suggests a zero-tolerance approach to unauthorized immigration. The plan also includes proposals to restructure immigration enforcement agencies. The goal is to create a more streamlined and aggressive apparatus for managing the border and interior enforcement, ensuring stricter compliance. Project 2025 also proposes significant changes to legal immigration pathways. It suggests eliminating certain visa categories. While specific categories are not always detailed in summaries, the intent is to reduce the overall number of legal immigrants. Furthermore, the plan includes increasing fees on immigrants who are applying for visas or other immigration benefits. These measures are designed to make the legal immigration process more restrictive and costly. The underlying philosophy appears to be one of limiting immigration flows, both legal and illegal, into the United States, prioritizing a more selective approach. The enforcement aspect of Project 2025's immigration plan is particularly robust. It calls for empowering federal agencies to detain and deport individuals who are in the country without authorization more swiftly. This could involve expanding detention capacity and reducing judicial review processes. The emphasis is on quick removal, aiming to deter future unauthorized immigration. Such policies would likely lead to a significant increase in deportations. They would also face legal challenges and spark considerable debate about due process and humanitarian concerns, affecting many families and communities. The overall vision for immigration in Project 2025 is one of tightened control and reduced numbers, building more of the wall and strictly enforcing laws aimed to secure the border physically. Restructuring agencies seeks to make enforcement more effective from the government's perspective. Changes to visa categories and increased fees aim to reshape and limit legal immigration channels. These proposals collectively signal a move towards a more nationalist immigration policy. The focus is on prioritizing what its authors see as national sovereignty and security over more open or humanitarian approaches to immigration. Section 5. Fueling the nation energy, climate, and economic visions. Project 2025 puts forth a clear agenda for energy and climate policy. It strongly advocates for increasing the production of fossil fuels. This includes oil, gas, and coal. This approach contrasts sharply with current trends favoring renewable energy sources. The document also calls for the United States to withdraw once again from the Paris Agreement on climate change. This international accord aims to limit global warming. Slashing federal funding for renewable energy research is another key proposal. These actions collectively signal a policy shift away from addressing climate change through emission reductions and green technology. On the economic front, Project 2025 suggests significant tax reforms. It proposes slashing corporate and income taxes. The aim is to stimulate economic growth by reducing the tax burden on businesses and individuals. The document also touches on more radical economic ideas. These include abolishing the Federal Reserve, the nation's central bank. There is also consideration of returning to a gold-backed currency. Such measures would represent a fundamental overhaul of the U.S. monetary system. These proposals reflect a desire for less government intervention in the economy and a return to more traditional economic principles. Trade policy is another area where Project 2025 outlines a distinct path. It supports the imposition of import taxes, particularly targeting countries like Canada, Mexico, and China. This protectionist stance aims to bolster domestic industries by making imported goods more expensive. Such tariffs could, however, lead to retaliatory measures from other countries. They could also increase costs for American consumers and businesses that rely on imported components. The approach signifies a preference for bilateral trade deals and a more assertive nationalist stance in global economic relations, potentially disrupting established international trade norms. The combined energy, climate, and economic proposals in Project 2025 envision a significantly different American landscape. Increased fossil fuel production and withdrawal from climate agreements would reverse efforts to combat global warming. Tax cuts and deregulation aim to spur economic activity, but could also increase national debt and inequality. Radical changes like abolishing the Federal Reserve or returning to a gold standard would introduce immense uncertainty into the financial system. Protectionist trade measures could reshape global supply chains and international economic partnerships, for better or worse, depending on one's perspective. Section 6. The Public Square. Media and Information in the Project 2025 Framework. Project 2025 includes specific proposals regarding the media landscape, particularly public broadcasting. A key recommendation is to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, or CPB. The CPB is the primary entity that provides federal funding to Public Broadcasting Service, PBS, and National Public Radio, NPR. The rationale provided for this defunding is the assertion that these outlets have become forums for liberal viewpoints. Proponents of this measure argue that taxpayer money should not support media organizations perceived as politically biased. This reflects a broader conservative critique of mainstream media institutions. The mechanism suggested for defunding involves presidential action. Project 2025 suggests that the president should refuse to sign appropriations bills that include funding for the CPB. This would effectively cut off a crucial revenue stream for PBS and NPR. Without federal support, these organizations would face significant financial burdens. It is anticipated that such a move could lead to the dismantling or severe curtailment of their operations. This would fundamentally alter the public media landscape in the United States. Many communities rely on these services for news, educational programming, and cultural content. The potential impact of defunding public broadcasting extends beyond financial considerations. PBS and NPR have long played a role in providing in-depth news coverage and educational content that commercial media often do not prioritize. Critics of the defunding proposal argue that it would diminish media diversity. They also express concern that it would reduce access to information for many Americans, particularly in rural or underserved areas. The move is seen by some as an attempt to silence voices that may be critical of a conservative agenda. This raises questions about freedom of the press and the role of government in supporting media. Beyond public broadcasting, Project 2025 touches on broader media-related issues such as content regulation. For instance, some interpretations of the project suggest a desire to ban pornography and hold companies accountable for allowing access to adult material. While the specifics are debated, the underlying theme is a desire for greater control over the information environment. This aligns with a broader concern about the cultural influence of media. These proposals, if implemented, would represent a significant shift in how the government interacts with and regulates media content, impacting free expression and access to information. Section 7 Trump and the Blueprint Actions Reflecting Project 2025's Aims. Donald Trump's actions, both during his presidency and in subsequent policy stances, show a notable alignment with many goals of Project 2025. While he publicly disavowed the document during campaign periods, his administration often pursued policies that resonate with its core tenets. For example, key figures associated with Project 2025 or its underlying philosophies were appointed to significant positions. Russell Vought, an author involved with Project 2025, was nominated to lead the Office of Management and Budget. John Ratcliffe became Director of National Intelligence, and Peter Navarro served as a trade advisor, all reflecting a certain ideological direction. In terms of government restructuring, Trump took steps consistent with Project 2025's aims. He moved to eliminate job protections for some civil servants, attempting to reclassify their roles to make them more akin to political appointments. This was framed as making government more accountable and responsive. His administration also initiated freezes on federal spending in certain areas. There were efforts to identify and remove government employees perceived as disloyal to his agenda. These actions mirror the project's desire for a federal workforce more directly aligned with the president's objectives and a streamlined executive. Regarding specific agency changes, the Trump administration showed a willingness to challenge and reconfigure established departments. There were moves towards reducing the influence and scope of the Department of Education. Similar intentions were signaled for USAID. The Department of Justice also underwent reconfigurations and faced scrutiny regarding its independence. These actions align with Project 2025's proposals for dismantling or overhauling such agencies. On social policies, Trump issued executive orders to restrict federal funding for organizations providing abortion services and took measures to limit transgender rights, reflecting the project's social conservatism. More recently, actions concerning the media further illustrate this alignment. For instance, in March 2025, reports indicated Trump banned the Associated Press from White House grounds, a significant move against a major news organization. Although legal challenges arose, the intent to control media access was clear. He has also continued to file lawsuits against prominent media outlets like the New York Times and CNN. These actions, coupled with his consistent rhetoric against fake news, resonate with Project 2025's critical stance on established media and a desire to reshape the information landscape, favoring narratives more aligned with his perspective. Section 8. Weighing the impact potential consequences of Project 2025. The implementation of Project 2025's proposals could bring about profound changes, with both potential upsides and significant downsides. From a conservative perspective, a primary perceived benefit is the creation of a more efficient and ideologically coherent government. By consolidating executive power and staffing agencies with loyal appointees, proponents argue that a president could more effectively implement their mandate. This could lead to faster decision-making and a bureaucracy more responsive to the elected leadership's agenda. The dismantling of certain agencies might also be seen as a way to reduce federal overreach and spending, aligning with a smaller government philosophy. However, critics voice serious concerns about the negative consequences of such sweeping changes. The push for a unitary executive and the removal of civil service protections could undermine the impartiality and expertise of the federal workforce. This might lead to governance based more on political loyalty than on sound policy or public interest. Historians like Manisha Sinha have warned that rolling back regulatory protections, a potential outcome of agency restructuring, could lead to dangers reminiscent of an era with fewer safeguards for public health and safety. This could manifest in areas like environmental protection and consumer safety, impacting daily lives. The social policy shifts outlined in Project 2025 also carry significant potential consequences. While supporters may see them as a restoration of traditional values, critics argue they could roll back decades of progress on civil rights and individual liberties. Restricting abortion access, redefining marriage along biblical lines, and eliminating DEI programs could disproportionately affect women, LGBTQ+ individuals, and minority groups. Such policies could deepen societal divisions and lead to widespread legal challenges. The impact on public services, particularly in education and international aid, could also be substantial if departments are eliminated or drastically downsized. Furthermore, the proposals related to media freedom raise alarms among press advocacy groups. Defunding public broadcasting and the aggressive stance towards critical media outlets are seen as threats to a free and independent press. A government that actively seeks to control the narrative and discredit dissenting voices could erode public trust in media and democratic institutions. The overall effect, critics argue, might be a government less accountable to the public and more insulated from scrutiny. This could shift the balance of power significantly, creating an environment where alternative facts gain more traction, making informed public discourse more difficult. Section 9. Leadership for a New Era. Is Trump the architect for Project 2025? The question of whether Donald Trump is the ideal president to implement Project 2025 is complex. His previous actions and policy leanings certainly demonstrate a strong alignment with many of the project's core objectives. His administration took steps to consolidate executive power, appoint conservative judges, and challenge established bureaucratic norms. He has shown a willingness to disrupt existing structures and pursue an America First agenda that resonates with the nationalist undertones of Project 2025. For supporters of the project, Trump's proven track record of challenging the status quo might make him seem like a uniquely capable leader to enact such a transformative vision. Many of Trump's policy decisions during his first term can be seen as precursors to the more formalized proposals in Project 2025. His withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, his approach to immigration, and his rhetoric concerning federal agencies align with the project's blueprint. His appointments of individuals like Russell Vought and Peter Navarro further indicate a shared ideological framework. Therefore, those who believe in Project 2025's goals might see Trump as the most determined and experienced figure to carry them out. His populist appeal and ability to mobilize a dedicated base could provide the political capital needed for such ambitious reforms. However, significant concerns exist regarding Trump's suitability, even among some conservatives. His confrontational style and tendency to disregard established norms could create instability and backlash, potentially hindering the systematic implementation of a detailed plan like Project 2025. Critics argue that his attacks on democratic institutions, including the media and the judiciary, are detrimental to the health of the republic. The Detroit Free Press, for example, has suggested that his efforts to control information and disseminate misinformation make him unsuitable for leading a democratic nation. These actions might undermine the very foundations Project 2025 seeks to build upon, regardless of policy alignment. Ultimately, while Trump's policy instincts and past actions align with Project 2025, his leadership style presents both opportunities and challenges for its proponents. The project itself is a highly organized and detailed plan. Its successful implementation would require not just a sympathetic president, but also a disciplined and strategic approach to governance. Whether Trump's approach to leadership is the best fit for such a meticulous and far-reaching transformation remains a subject of intense debate. The potential future under such a combination would undoubtedly mean a radically different America, with supporters anticipating a stronger, more traditional nation, and detractors fearing an erosion of democratic principles and civil liberties.